gonna check here on LinkedIn as well. Okay, we are live. There might be an echo, so I'm going to pause this stream and then just kind of be right here. Maybe what I can do is, okay, do you hear an echo now?
No.
Okay, perfect. So I just kind of shut off the microphone for the other one, and then that way, in case comments don't flow through, we're good. So we can do
echo now.
Oh, we hear an echo now.
Yeah.
Perfect. So hi, everybody. I hope you all are doing good. We can, the way we can start, I think it's 10:03 right now. I will give a quick intro first about me and the panel and why I started with this panel, and then hand it over to all of you for intros. But before we go to intros, I always like to ask, what is your favorite breakfast option? So for me, it can be between yogurt parfait with granola and some raisins, or with fruits, or oatmeal. So those are my kind of favorite go-to breakfast options. So I'll pass it to you, Padmini. You can share, what your favorites are.
Nothing beats the almond croissant with a strong cup of coffee.
Oh, look at that!
That's
But
my
you
breakfast.
would fit right in with Aunt Sophie, and you could travel to France together. It's perfect. Having the
Yeah.
almond croissants with the coffee.
And then it's pretty much the same for me, although the French way is also to have a nice baguette, because a good baguette is just like a good croissant and some salty butter on it. And yes, definitely a big cup of cappuccino.
Yeah, for me, I would say it is omelette with, different vegetables and jalapenos to make it spicy, along with, toast and the salsa sauce. I think just the Mexican thing, it just drives me nuts. So I love that as my breakfast.
That sounds perfect, Jyoti. I'm coming over because I also love omelet.
Awesome. You're very welcome.
Perfect. So quick intros that we can jump into. So I'm Priyanka Upadhyay. Hi, everyone. If you're watching this, the recording, or watching live, either way, I'm Priyanka Upadhyay, and I've been calling myself Coach Pri. And that's because the last several months I have been working as a product and leadership coach through my coaching business. Prior to that, I have been a product leader, mostly focused on enterprise or B2B products, for almost 18 years. And I started my career not as a product manager. I started my career as a project and program manager, and then transitioned to product management. So I always love transition stories as well. And why I started this diversity panel discussion a few months back is because my mission is to make product management fun, easy, and accessible, and hence making it more easy for diverse candidates to enter the field or to grow and thrive in the field. And that is because I was bothered by sort of the not enough diversity or lack of diversity in every team that I worked at as a product manager, product leader. And so this is aimed at, can we talk about topics that are related to career growth and diversity, and how the two play out together, because these things exist throughout our career journey, right? And so for today's panel, we have a very exciting topic, which is artificial intelligence and the rise of Gen AI, and how this is already impacting the hiring process, or the recruiting process, or the promotions process, right? and just thinking about what the implications are, maybe both positive and negative. And then we will talk about sort of the candidate perspective and the hiring manager perspective. So if you're watching this and you're a job seeker or an employee, or you're a hiring manager, recruiter, you still have some interesting points to look out for. So with that, I will pass it to our panelists for intros. Padmini, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Padmini Adepalli. I am a Harvard certified product strategist. I've started off my career as a product manager intern, and it's been a jump after jump after that. With that, and the career has been giving me different kind of products to deal with. I've done mobile, web, name it. I have done it. Recently, one of the products that I was working on won the best innovation of the year. Um, and I've done my slowly from product management, I've moved into strategy. I've certified myself from Harvard Business School. And with that, I've decided to, when I saw that there were not a lot of women, especially in strategy or in product management field, I took interest in developing young leaders who can guide themselves. Um, just like I've been with the help of some peers and some leaders to become product strategists, especially in technology products. Right now, I am a board member on one of the girls' organizations, and I believe in women empowerment. I believe in young girls to become big leaders, especially in the tech industry. And that's what my mission is, to take up this diversity matters and join Priyanka in her mission to bring up young women leaders in the technology field.
That's awesome. Super excited to have you here, Padmini. I don't know who
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today. I see Jyoti next on my screen. Do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Jyoti. I am currently product manager at Dropbox. It's interesting that I started my journey as in a very technical background as an engineer. I did my master's in electrical and computer engineering from University of Southern California, and as expected, I landed a job in semiconductor industry where I learned a lot about you know delivering CPU chips into your mobile phones. That was the era of um, semiconductor booming and everything becoming semiconductor focused. So I was part of that. As a key takeaway from that industry, I learned a lot about precision and accuracy, how key it is. But I was surrounded by friends who were in software industry, and things were moving at such a fast pace. I didn't want to be left behind in that, and as a result, I made a transition to software industry. Learned Python coding and whatnot, data structures, algorithms, and cracked a number of interviews. However, eventually landed a job in Dropbox, where I felt it was like home. So I transition. I started my journey as a quality engineer, and very soon I got the opportunity to work with a lot of product managers and having to deal with customers, acceptance testing, and building that user empathy, which basically paved my way to be a product manager. It basically provides me a spectrum from end to end, understanding the product development lifecycle, and gives me a lot of enthusiasm to understand how it is important to think from customer perspective as well as business perspective. So yeah, that's about me, and why I'm here with Coach Pri is because I think diversity is very important to me. I feel diversity is, it comes very naturally. It is in our nature. Nature supports diversity. So who are we to neglect it? And diversity brings perspective, and having those different perspectives is what a flower or a bouquet looks like. So and that's why I'm here. And as just like Padmini, I'm a huge supporter of young girls in moving them to STEM, moving them to leadership roles, because personally, I have also felt that being lonely in the room, you need role models to be there. So here I am to support that.
That's so
Cool.
awesome, Jyoti. Yeah, and awesome transition story there too. We gotta talk more about that next time. But thank you for the intro. Go ahead, Anne Sophie, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, hi. So my name is Anne-Sophie Reinkens. I'm originally French and married to a German guy now, so kind of European rooted for sure. I definitely have also my transition story because I got a degree in business back then in France and started my career in finance. And also went through PwC in auditing before jumping into the startup and tech world. It's been a real stretch, but it was funny to see how actually my background helped me a lot to do this jump. And basically, I launched a lead generation platform about 10 years ago. It's been a great adventure to have this entrepreneurial experience. I've learned so much, and I really focused at that time into customer relationship products, which has been kind of my focus since then. So after that, I've moved in different roles in both lead generation startups or e-commerce big players in Europe, where again I really focus on CRM, on customer communication, customer interfaces, and managing this relationship with your customers. I love this area where you can bring your empathy to the customer while mixing it with those business challenges and technical challenges. So I love the product job for this mix of perspective, and I think we're going to talk about diversity. I think this is also part of the diversity, is to have people around the table that speak different technical or business languages but are aiming at the same goal, and so that's why I love this job.
That's amazing, Anne Sophie. And I also love the work you're doing with the European Champions Alliance. And I think you
Yes,
started hosting a podcast.
indeed. Indeed, yeah. So I've been joining the European Champions Alliance about 2 years ago. It's a club kind of trying to support the growth and scale of European startups on the global level. And indeed, I have a podcast where we kind of tackle the challenges of Europe on this global market. So it's an exercise I love to do also, just like you, Priyanka, to be behind the mic and to interview people.
Yeah, that's been great. I've been loving all the content you're putting out there.
Thank you.
So yeah, so thank you everybody for the awesome intros, and no worries. And we can jump in to bear with me just a second. And I'm actually looking away because I have some of my questions jotted down here on my other screen. So let me ask this, and maybe we can start here. Um, well, let me ask this first. Are we ready to jump into the whole AI and careers discussion? Should we go
Yes, we
there?
are.
Yes. Okay, let's do it. And one, I guess, caveat for anybody watching is that we're not having this discussion with the attempt to sort of have very finite answers or make it black and white. I recognize, and we all recognize, that this is a very complex subject that is evolving faster than we can handle it, and we have a lot of unknowns in the space. So the goal today is to tackle some good questions, to brainstorm together on some of those answers and possibilities, and raise awareness on this topic. So, with that, I think we can start with the hiring manager or like the recruiter perspective first, right? So let's say that you are a hiring manager or a recruiter, right? How might you use AI to improve your hiring process? Or you could also use it. There are tools that are coming up now, like beamery.com is something I was checking out recently, which is doing some interesting work as kind of an AI powered, talent management platform and workforce planning solutions, right? And they're providing insights on, right, like what skills do people have versus what skills do people need. And some of these insights are intended to improve DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion goals for companies. So I guess this is a broad topic. So maybe we can focus on a few specific areas. Like let's think about job descriptions or the resume review process and like the interview process. So I would love to hear your thoughts on uh, how can hiring managers or recruiters sort of use AI to improve or expedite these processes, and not just to remove efficiency, but also to hopefully reduce bias, right, and improve inclusion goals. And I think I had uh, Padmini or Jyoti for this one. So go ahead if one of you wants to take it on.
Jyoti, do you want to go first?
Sure, I can take it. Yeah, I think like it's a very interesting question and a very valid one in this era right now. Uh, First of all, like diversity, it is important. Why is it important? I think we kind of all talked about it, and we all understand the value of it. Now, how do we ensure that we all come from backgrounds where there have been very skewed population in the meeting rooms, and we all understand the value of it. So. How AI can help and enhance and ensure that there is not bias. I think from a resume review process, what I can think of it is like, anonymizing the resume, like removing some personally identifiable information, which can basically bias the screener, whether it is like name, gender, um, a photograph, any of those things, because there has been research that showcases that a person with the same resume having different name, just a different name, whether it's like John or Joanna, so will get different responses. So to remove those kind of biases, anonymize those personally identifiable information, extract key deliverables or achievements from that resume, to help remove those kind of biases. Other things which I can think of is like in the job description, like basically use like gender neutral language, like instead of saying we are looking for a rock star salesman, it could probably be like looking for a sales representative, right? So encouraging folks to apply irrespective of, because there's a subconscious bias also, and like there is also research that showcases that women tend to apply only when they pick off, like mark all the checklist, right? And whereas a man would still apply even if they do like 3 out of 10, they would still apply. So, and if you add those kind of gender things in the job description, I think that adds to their further inhibitions, right? So I would say removing those kind of things. What else? From Yeah, I think these are my initial thoughts. Like Padmani, would you take further?
Yeah. Good that you mentioned bias and how how the systems differentiate between John and Joanna, right? So one thing when we look at bias is when it comes to AI, most of the machines are garbage in, garbage out, right? It feeds in whatever we take, whatever we feed in is what comes out. Now, when you set up the AI system or the software to pick out or you define it in a way that you have to take only certain characteristics, of the applicant, that changes the whole bias equivalency. So there's no way we can say that it's just going to be a pseudoscience. There's no way we can say that AI systems can, remove the bias,
Yeah.
and it's not going to be, you're going to get a diverse candidate. We need to make sure that these AI systems are defined in a way, and that comes only from, I would say, humans, or the software folks, and product folks like us, who define the system to be gender neutral, to be diverse, and understand that the subconscious bias Jyoti mentioned needs to be addressed in that definition. So it all falls back to the product folks, or the guys defining it. But that's how I see. Even before the recruiters or the hiring managers, or even the job applicants, for example, they use the system to create resumes, or create cover letters using AI, create, even avatars of themselves for the video interviews. Any of this, we need to make sure that the system or the AI system itself is defined in a good way. That
Very. Thank you. Thank you both. I think both are very good perspectives. And Padmini, like you brought up, right? Like the model is only as good as the training data that was fed to the model. And
exactly.
right, there are questions around where did we get this training data from? And well, what if there was no precedence, like, or what if the data itself was biased?
Right.
So these are really important questions to consider.
And research has shown that there's so many, most of the 70% of the AI systems that are out there right now are biased in some kind of way.
Yep.
So that's not a small number, 70%. So
Yes.
that is something that we need to, as product folks, we need to work on.
To think about. Yeah. And one thing that I was just thinking about actually last night, as I was thinking about some of the topics we will be talking about today, is the teams. It comes back to sort of the diverse teams, right? Like, let's say that there is 4 engineers, 3 data scientists, right, 1 PM, a quality engineer. They're all sitting out there, maybe a couple of architects, a UX designer. They're all sitting out there, right? And they are creating this talent management model, let's say internally, right? It's kind of like, wait, do they all look and talk the same way? Like, is that
exactly
right? Because it's sort of coming back to the circle of like, we have to have diverse teams. So that's, I think, very interesting. And the other thing that I did want to point out is that oftentimes intersectionality matters in diversity. So you could be a man, but maybe if you were African American and gay, right, or if you were a woman and Latino, right, or if you were having some disabilities of any kind, or you're neurodivergent, right, like all of those factors change the stats and change the numbers. So that's why I think diversity is also complex, because there's becomes this whole sort of argument about, well, this person is diverse and this person's not. But I think that's why, because it's not black and white, right? There's so many factors at play.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for sharing that. Let's go to the next question, which is more around kind of the candidate perspective, which is when we dig deeper into like the candidate perspective. Let's say that somebody is watching this and they are thinking about they're already in a job that they don't like, maybe they're overworked, and they're looking for a new job, right? Or they're just in the job market looking for a new role. How can these folks take advantage of the new AI tools out there, and like what areas of their job search can they consider to use AI tools, right? Because it starts with job search has become there's so many aspects to it nowadays, right? It's everything from networking to like how do you even find the right job matches, and so many aspects to it. So yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on what ideas or tips that you can share for candidates on maybe what areas of their job search they should kind of use AI to their advantage. So I will turn to maybe Anne-Sophie if you want to get started on this, and then others feel free to jump in.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Priyanka. I think the way I look at AI from a personal perspective is that it's it's giving you kind of a superpower as a person in general, not even as a candidate, but it's just to me, I make the parallel where when the moment computers were brought into the workplace, it has been bringing a lot of efficiency. It has completely changed the way you work, and it has enabled us to perform a lot more tasks that were before not kind of automated. So it has brought us this superpower, and I see AI in the exact same way. It is not going to replace us. It is something that would just make us more efficient, work better, and give us more possibilities on various numbers of areas. And of course, applying to roles is one of them. You mentioned, for instance, at the moment of applying or looking for roles, there are already some sites offering AI powered connection between candidates and roles. I've looked into them. I haven't been like blown away. I think because everyone has a very specific story as a person, and every company is looking for a specific skill set. And we both have to reduce that on the recruiter side, on the job description, on the one-pager job description, and on the candidate side, on a 2 pages resume max, right? So it's difficult to pull all of your complexity into just those few pages, right? So for the moment, I haven't seen a solution that was kind of mind-blowing in this aspect. I think where there is a lot of potential is for sure from the candidate perspective on rather helping you write your resume and especially your cover letter. Where I use it recently for myself, and for the cover letter, it's more a matter of, like, you can hear it, I don't have a perfect English, so it's more a matter of really helping me there and having an impactful way of presenting myself. Which is super important, especially here in California, I would say. And again, it is not going to grasp the complexity of my career experience, because I've done so much over the last 10, 15 years, and you cannot put all that into a 2-pager. So it is your role as a candidate to kind of highlight what you know, what are your skills, what are your experiences, and the AI will just help you just show a better version of yourself, or show, you know, the nice picture. Again, I like to make the parallel between with like making a photograph. So the model is here, but if you have a bad photographer, the picture is going to be bad anyway. So AI is just helping you to make a beautiful picture of yourself. And by the way, a second application that I use AI for is to make profile pictures of myself. Again, not blown away. It's been very interesting. Some pictures were really like looking like me. Most of them look like me, but if you look really at them, you're like, no, this is not Anne-Sophie. It's not her. It's not rendering my personality. Not to mention the fact that one has a missing arm and stuff like that. So definitely not providing what I needed. But let's see how it evolves. I think there are interesting also stuff in that area. Also, and the reason why I did that is that I was like, oh, I need to go to a professional photographer to make a professional picture of myself. I was a little, you have to make an appointment to find out. I'm new in town, so to find out where to go, it is a budget. So you have to also invest in that. And like for $20, I had 20 profile pictures of myself. Not all good, but a few of them were doing the job. So it was an interesting experience. And finally, obviously, helping you write the cover letters by, so basically you input your resume, you input the job description, and again you have to make the connection between the skills that are needed and the skills that you bring, but the tool is really helping you make a beautiful picture of yourself. So for now, that's where I see there is the most potential in those tools. Yeah.
Thank you
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to be trying the profile picture tool, Anne-Sophie, because that's something that coaching clients have been asking me about. Like, hey, is there some, inexpensive, easy, fast tool that I can do like professional looking photographs? So that'll be interesting. And I've been trying it out for actually my business logo. And I've had a similar experience than you, that I've had better success with traditional, like still automated, but not fully AI based, rather than sort of the AI based. But I think there's potential, like what you said. And to summarize what you said, I think you're suggesting to candidates in the market to not over rely on AI, right? Like still do the work, do the hard work, by yourself or with your network, to tell your own story in your own words, right? Because that's what's going to help you stand out.
And to get back to the diversity topic, I think with those tools, they might kind of, just like the picture, it's a beautiful picture of yourself. It's neat, but it's not bringing your personality. It's not completely you, and you know who you are and what you can bring. So
yeah, authenticity. That's a very a good topic to also think about. So thank you.
If I may jump in, AI right now is in its infancy, I would say. So I guess as we go by the years, maybe 5 years down the line, it's going to take out the exact picture of yourself. So we never know. We might be blown away with what it's going to, give us out. And speaking of resumes and cover letters, I think as an applicant, when you use the right keywords and the right for the right skill set, if they're looking for example, I would say if Hilton is looking for a customer service representative, using of the keywords calm and happy or peaceful conversations would highlight more of the skill set of the person, saying that they're good and they fit well with the job, rather than using the words aggressive, even be it in the term of negative or positive, right? Using the word just aggressive because the system doesn't know what the intention of the person is. Just avoiding the word aggressive altogether can highlight the resume, can get the resume picked out, can change the whole perspective of the cover letter. So as Sophie mentioned, this all falls back to that subconscious mind of the applicant to put in the right words.
Yep. Yeah, and I think keywords and like how we talk to AI, like that's another skill. I guess that's developing a skill for many of us, right? So thank you for sharing that. So since we talked about cover letters and resumes and a little bit about job descriptions that Jyoti shared earlier, maybe let's jump to interviews. And one thing that I've been hearing about is AI-powered interviews, and there's already some companies that have switched to this mode. And again, the intention, like what Padmini mentioned, the intentions are often positive, like, hey, we want to help the recruiter to work on other things that could really use her brain or his brain. And so um, the intentions are positive, but I think it can still be a challenging experience for candidates. And then, we're still not sure about the whole diversity aspect. So, do you have any thoughts on this, on the interview process, how it's going to change? And then the part two of that is, how should candidates prepare for this? Like, let's say that, somebody I'm coaching and they get an AI powered interview next week. Like, right, what are some of the things we should be aware of from a candidate mindset?
Yeah, sure. So, from an interview perspective, if we've seen in the last few years, I would say since about 2014, the video interviews have taken a hit. They're just, the growth is tremendous. And with AI interviews, the last 2 years since COVID, the pandemic, we've seen a bigger jump. And Higher View is one good example, which is an AI interview tool. And most companies, it's about 700 companies that I've been using this Higher View, and so far about 10 million interviews have been held through the Higher View process. What it does is it doesn't show your exact image, but with the AI being interviewed, AI interviewing you, sorry, there's a very less chance for the hiring manager to, uh, show bias and say, I'm not so great, or it does the whole psychology, psychotherapy testing of the applicant. So there's no way you can cheat the AI system there, just like how you can change based on how the applicant changed their answers based on the interviewers' facial expressions or the language that they're talking or the body language. Right. So you're just talking to a system, and the system has the capacity to actually analyze you based on your speech, based on how you move, the words you use. So the interview process is completely transformed with AI. As a job applicant, I would suggest like whoever is going to be shown with AI interviewing, using the right keywords, using the uh, right body language, and there are many trainings out there which can help job applicants to, I would say, kind of tackle this AI system, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. But can I add something real quick? And I'll
yeah, sure.
to Jyoti after that. I was just thinking also as you were finishing talking, Padmini, about like the lack of feedback, right, from the human aspect. And so I think that's going to become, at least my interpretation right now, is it's going to become a little more challenging, right, for candidates, because right now we have the sort of luxury of reading the facial expressions of the interviewer if we're on video, right? And if I'm rambling, I'll often catch it by, oh, the person looks like they're bored. And if they're bored, I'll switch topics or I'll give more exciting examples, right? And we all do that just sort of naturally without even realizing it happens so fast in a job interview. And we can kind of save ourselves from falling flat and like still get the offer right after a bunch of interviews. And so now I think that because that sort of, another thing I would say is sort of building the relationship rapport. And
Exactly.
right, even though you don't know the person, right, often it has happened like, they felt like I would fit in the team, and it was not necessarily bias. It was just more like okay, this is a very stressful job, and the personality we're looking for is somebody who's not easily stressed, like who's cracking jokes or who's tackling complex problems and is very serious and can get the job done, but also has personalities like ABC. And interviewers often assess that, I think, through interviews. So I feel like that's going to become more challenging. But I'll hand it to Jyoti to add her thoughts.
Sure, Priyanka. I think like what you mentioned and what Padmini mentioned, like what my thoughts are, like it does have its own pros and cons. Like AI powered interviews means no human. If you're going that route of no human interaction, I think I do see the pros in the sense of, like, there'll be probably consistency. How the question is being asked, it's probably same. Um, and other things will be like, uh, uh, efficiency. Of course, like AI is here to improve the productivity and improve the efficiency, and we can probably get best of best candidates and like do more number of interviews. Right now we do like 10 interviews, and then we're like, okay, from these candidates, sometimes it happens, right? Like, because you need someone, and then if it's going by AI powered, you can do even much more number of interviews. However, like, on the con side of it, like I personally feel there are a lot of cons to it. No human touch, which Priyanka you mentioned, like no judging of facial recognition. Then around transparency, like these AI systems are like black boxes, I feel, and the kind of decisions they will give about the candidate, who knows what's going on. And as Padmani had mentioned, that there's garbage in, garbage out. The data, the raw data itself is pretty biased. So bias coming into this completely AI powered is very possible. So I personally feel that we can probably go the AI route, which we will. I mean, there is no stopping it. Nobody can stop that now. I think it's going to happen in the future. But there should be a human in the loop making the final decision call. I'm sure like that will also get biased, given like if five AI agents are telling you yes, 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 and
Yeah.
so how will human give that rationale? I think those are like good complex topics that must be questioned and discussed thoroughly before the industry chooses this route. Yeah, that's my take.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. And just based on the efficiency or, the statistics showing that it changes the number of days that's spent by a recruiter within hiring process. All these doesn't really matter, but at the end, if we need to move as a community, uh, forward, it is important that the humans kind of take control of the machines that we use rather than machines taking control, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And that's interesting what Jyoti you mentioned, and Padmini you built upon that is I was doing some research and I found that um, through Pew Research Center in the US, just US data only, but it's at 71% Americans oppose making final hiring decisions through AI. So the final hiring decision is an important part, like what you were talking about, Jyoti, right? Is that yeah, it's okay. Let's use these tools to make things, faster and better, a little bit upstream, but um, let's also leave some room for that human interaction and intervention and engagement. Kind of saying that, okay, I'm really lost between these three candidates. So let's do a human interview for these three instead of just randomly picking the one that AI suggests, right? So you're still getting a close match, but hopefully you're doing that.
Yeah.
Just to, if I may, also to
Yeah.
reverse the perspective from a candidate point of view. I mean, you are in an interview to also assess the company, and if you are in front of an AI, does it mean that the work you're going to do is just with an AI? And we've been talking about transitioning roles. Where is also the space for this? How can you imagine transitioning from an industry to a very different one with an AI that is not trained or prepared for this? So I think we have to think also a recruiting process. It's two parties involved. It's the candidate and the recruiter. And oftentimes people forget that candidates are also selecting companies and getting an impression of a recruiter through the recruiting process. And sometimes you get a very bad impression. And I would say, especially, I guess, when you come from a diversity background, when you're a woman, and then suddenly you get those kind of strange questions, maybe around your age and if you have kids and the time that you want to give or to spend with your kids or stuff like that. To me, I would never go with, for a full AI recruiting process, unless it's for like roles that are where I wouldn't care. I imagine there are some roles, maybe in customer support, where or roles that are not full time, but really from a candidate perspective, it's difficult to imagine.
Yeah, very good points. Thank you for sharing, Anne-Sophie. So we have just a few minutes left. So I did want to. I have a question here, which I think is important. If we have time, we can do a wrap-up question after that, or we can end on this one, which is, we cannot close this discussion about AI and the impact on diversity initiatives and workforce processes and hiring and all of that without really thinking about kind of ethical boundaries and legal boundaries and all of those things. And as I mentioned before, I do think that we're moving forward with the AI-related transformations and changes like sweeping all around us. Like Padmini mentioned, the numbers are huge. Like, was it 10 million candidates already interviewed by right? That's a significant number. So this is moving very fast. And there is discussion ongoing about things that I was reading about a few weeks ago about, for example, tracking worker movement. Like, right, are you at your desk kind of thing. And there was even discussions about facial expressions of workers. And for me, this can create a very toxic or negative work environment, right? This can potentially encourage micromanagement. Because at the end of the day, people work differently. Some people will be hyper-focused and get a whole day's work done in 4.5 hours or even 5 hours. And then there'll be others that'll get the same work done in 8.5 hours. So I feel like it's not such an easy thing to measure. It also, like Anne-Sophie said, puts the bias on, the moms who are doing the heavy lifting often, or people who are caring for others, anybody, not just moms, at their home, right, who are taking those breaks during the day, that they're gone from 12 to 2 for kid pickup and elderly mom pickup. But at the same time, they're working harder than others. They're getting things done, right? So what do you think about sort of the guardrails around this? We know we have GDPR now that came in, a few years back, almost five years ago now, right, 2018. And we have CCPA, which is the Privacy Act in California. We see more and more about do not sell my personal data. What are your thoughts on sort of ways to govern? Do you think some kind of regulation and governance is going to emerge in US or in Europe or around the world, and what can we do sort of to deal with some of these challenges that might come our way, right? So just want to get your thoughts, and you can all share your thoughts. Go ahead.
If I can. Sorry, go ahead, Sophie.
There is already regulation around AI, both in the US and in Europe, and also with having both sides of the Atlantic communicating to each other on this specific topic, because I think there is they kind of are aware that they need to talk together. It's more of a global problem now, obviously. And I've been involved into back 5 years ago into implementing the whole GDPR processes on our products in a big e-commerce company, and you see it also as a power given to the people to kind of protect themselves of having companies using their data to filter them out sometimes, or to push stuff to them that at the end they don't really want to see, or to have recommendations that maybe are not the things that they want to see. Or I see a lack of, back also to this transitioning topic, you don't know the whole personality, the whole life, the whole complexity of a person. And this complexity gives a lot of opportunities, especially for people from a diverse background. It can also be bring a lot of opportunities because you bring something else, but it's something that an AI cannot grasp just looking at your face, your expression, or your resume, right? So I think that regulation is definitely needed to kind of set the boundaries of what AI will be able to work on, or the kind of data it's going to use and how it's going to process it, and the outcome of the AI tools.
Yeah, thank you, Anne Sophie. And I think Europe might lead the way on this, like it did with GDPR. I mean, that's my hope. And I see that difference when I go to European websites. So I was in France for a few weeks recently and went to museums there, and looking at some of the stuff that I feel very safe. They ask me all these things like, okay, do you want to share? Are you okay with these kind of cookies? Whereas with some of our US websites, it's kind of like I get these mails almost every few weeks, like your data is, there was a data breach. Like, my information was in a data breach multiple times in like the last 2 months. So, it's just been very unnerving, right? And this feeling of not feeling safe using these products. And I think this will apply to like AI as well. How about you, Jyoti? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I would say I'm totally in alignment that, we definitely need checks and balances. This cannot be something which is completely untamed. Otherwise, I think the concern has been raised by a lot of CEOs within Silicon Valley, and there has been a proposal as well. However, my only concern, a counter concern to this, is that for social media, there has been challenges in creating those guardrails or governances around social media. So my concern is like these policy makers, do they really understand? Because AI is so complex, it is such a black box, that does the policy makers themselves understand what is really needed? So I think it cannot be a very concentrated movement. It needs to be a bit of more international collaboration across the globe, and almost like national initiatives needs to be taken, rather than doing it in silos. And yeah, I think those are my main thoughts around this. We need it, but what needs to be done? This needs to be in the hands of the right people, and needs to be controlled. Yeah.
And I think New York has taken that first step. It recently passed the 144 law, compliance law, where there should be, especially in the hiring process, to make sure that there is transparency and there's no bias, like unfair bias or discrimination in handling job applicants who apply for this positions, where there's no unfair bias even in the initial stages of the recruiting process or at the final stages, especially when using AI interviews, right? So, and this New York law is going to, I think it's partially already applicable in most of the other states, and they are making it as a national law when it comes to hiring with AI. So the first steps are, we are still in making the baby steps.
Yeah.
So as Jyoti mentioned, it is important that people, the leaders or the policymakers need to be better equipped, better understand what we are dealing with. I remember going back, just off topic, I remember our senators or the policymakers asking, what is a social network? Initially, in one of the Senate hearings on our for Meta discussions and Twitter discussions. So I think it's important that our policymakers understand what AI is and the effect of AI in the technology industry. Some and basically be able to differentiate what can be done and what shouldn't be done. So yeah, it all goes back to the policymakers understanding what can be done with AI, and should it be done is the second question that they need to ask. Can we use this or can we not use this?
Thank you for sharing that. So I think to summarize about the ethical aspects, I think you all shared that we definitely need some guardrails. And and Sophie, you mentioned about sort of the collaboration between US and Europe and the discussions that are happening there. And also the fact that some education and awareness is needed for the change makers and the policymakers to lay the guardrails in the right places and in the right way, because that didn't fully happen with the social media networks, and what was really needed wasn't quite fully implemented, necessarily from a legal guardrail standpoint. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, all of you, for sharing your thoughts on this very emergent topic of AI and how it's going to help us or challenge us or hinder us from the whole hiring, recruiting, and all of the different processes related to the workforce. So I appreciate you all taking the time, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Sure.
for inviting
Thank
us.
you, Priyanka,
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.